Hi, welcome back to the class. In this class, we'll be learning about the last type of control instruction, that is, case control instruction. In real life, we are often faced with situations where we are required to make a choice between a number of alternatives rather than only one or two. For example, which school to join or which hotel to visit. Serious C programming is the same. The choice we are asked to make is more complicated than merely selecting between two alternatives. C provides a special control statement that allows us to handle such cases effectively, rather than using a series of if statements. This control instruction is in fact the topic of our chapter today. Towards the end of our class, we will also study a keyword called goto and understand why we should avoid its usage in C programming. Coming to decision using switch, the control statement that allows us to make a decision from the number of choices is called a switch, or more correctly, a switch case default, since these three keywords go together to make up a control statement. A general form of switch statement is as follows. Switch with an integer expression, and within a pair of parentheses, there's case 1, case 2, case 3 and default statement. So if this particular integer expression leads to any one of these constant, it will execute the following statements or it will go to the default statement. The integer expression following the keyword switch is any C expression that will yield an integer value. It could be an integer constant like 1, 2 or 3 or an expression that evaluates to an integer. The keyword case is followed by an integer or a character constant. Each constant in each case must be different from all the other cases. The do this lines in this above form of switch represent any valid C statement. What happens when we run a program containing a switch? First, the integer expression following the keyword switch is evaluated. The value it gets is then matched one by one against the constant values that follows the case statements. When a match is found, the program executes the statement following that case and all subsequent case and default statements as well. If no match is found with any of the case statements, only the statement which following the default are executed. A few examples will show how this control statement works. Also, the operation of switch is shown in the form of a flowchart for a better understanding. Example 1. The output of this program would be I am in case 2, I am in case 3, I am in default. The output is definitely not what we expected, right? We didn't expect the second and third line in the above output. The program prints case 2 and 3 and the default case. Well, yes, we said the switch executes the case where a match is found and all the subsequent cases and the default as well. If you want that only case 2 should be executed, it is up to you to get out of the switch then and thereby use a break statement. The following example shows how this is done. Note that there is no need of a break statement after the default since the control comes out of the switch anyway. The output of this particular program is I am in case 2. Next, I'll be telling you a few useful tips about the usage of switch and a few pitfalls to be avoided. So first, the earliest program that used switch may give you the wrong impression that you can use only cases arranged in ascending order 1, 2, 3 and default. You can in fact put the cases in any order you please. Here is an example of the scrambled case order. The output of this program would be I am in case 22. You are also allowed to use char values in case and switch as shown. The output of this program would be I am in case X. In fact, here when we use V, A and X, they are actually replaced by the ASCII values 118, 97 and 120 of these character constants at times when we may want to execute a common set of statements for multiple cases. How this can be done is shown in this particular example. Here we are marking use of the fact that once a case is satisfied, the control simply falls to the case till it doesn't encounter a break statement. That is why, if an alphabet A is entered, the case A is satisfied, and since there are no statements to be executed in this case, the control automatically reaches the next case, that is case capital A, and executes all the statements in this case. Even if there are multiple statements to be executed in each case, there is no need to enclose them within a pair of braces, unlike if and else. Every statement in a switch must belong to some case or the other. If a statement doesn't belong to any case, the compiler won't report an error. However, the statement would never get executed itself. For example, in the following program, the printf never goes to work. If we have no default case, then the program simply falls through the entire switch and continues with the next instruction that follows the closing brace of switch. Is switch a replacement for if? Yes, as well as no. Yes, because it offers a better way of writing programs as compared to if, and no, because in certain situations we are left with no choice but to use if. The disadvantage of switch is that one cannot have a case in a switch which looks like case I less than equal to 20. All that we can have after the case is an integer constant or a character constant or an expression that evaluates to one of these constants. Even a float is not allowed. The advantage of switch over if is that it leads to a more structured program and the level of indentation is manageable, more so if there are multiple statements within each case of a switch. We can check the value of any expression in a switch. Thus, the following switch statements are legal. Expression can also be used in cases provided they are constant expressions. Thus, case 3 plus 7 is correct. However, case A plus B is incorrect. The break statement, when used in a switch, takes the control outside the switch. However, use of continue will not take the control to the beginning of switch as one is likely to believe. In principle, a switch may occur within another, but in practice it is rarely done. Such statements would be called nested switch statements. The switch statement is very useful while writing menu-driven programs. Now going to switch versus if-else ladder. There are some things that you simply cannot do with a switch. Those are, a float expression cannot be tested using a switch. Cases can never have variable expression. For example, it is wrong to say case A plus 3. Multiple cases can use same expression. Thus, the following switch is illegal. A, B, and C above may lead you to believe that these are obvious disadvantages with a switch, especially since there weren't any such limitations with if-else. Then why use a switch at all? For speed, switch works faster than an equivalent if-else ladder. How come? This is because the compiler generates a jump table for a switch during compilation. As a result, during execution, it simply refers the jump table to decide which case should be executed rather than actually checking which case is satisfied. As against this, if-elses are slower because they are evaluated as the execution time. A switch with 10 cases would work faster than an equivalent if-else ladder. Also, a switch with 2 cases would work slower than if-else ladder. Why? If the 10th case is satisfied, then jump table would be referred and statements for the 10th case would be executed. As against this, in an if-else ladder, 10 conditions would be evaluated at execution time, which makes it slow. Note that a lookup in the jump table is faster than evaluation of a condition, especially if the condition is complex. If, on the other hand, the condition in the if-else were simple and less in number, then the if-else would work faster than the lookup mechanism of a switch. Hence, a switch with 2 cases would work slower than an equivalent if-else. Thus, you as a programmer should take a decision which of the two should be used when. Next, going to the goto keyword. Avoid goto keyword. That's the major advice that I would like to give you. They make a C programmer's life miserable. There are a seldom legitimate reason for using goto, and its use is one of the reasons that programs become unreliable, unreadable, and hard to debug, and yet many programmers find goto seductive. In a difficult programming situation, it seems so easy to use a goto to take the control where you want. However, almost always there is a more elegant way of writing the same program using if, for, while, and switch. These constructs are far more logical and easy to understand. The big problem with gotos is that when we do use them, we can never be sure how we got to a certain point in our code. They obscure the flow of control. So as far as possible, please skip them. You can always get the job done without them. Trust me, with good programming skills, goto can always be avoided. This is the first and last time we're going to be using goto. However, for the sake of completeness, the following program shows us how to use goto. A few things to note about this program would be, if the condition is satisfied, the goto statements transfer the control to the label SOS, causing printf following SOS to be executed. The label can be on a separate line or on the same line as a statement following it, as in SOS colon printf with a string. Any number of gotos can take the control to the same label. The exit function is a standard library function which terminates the execution of the program. It is necessary to use this function since we don't want the statement of printf to get executed after execution of the else block. The only programming situation in favor of using goto is when we want to take the control out of the loop that is contained in several other loops. So this program illustrates this. Go through the program carefully and find out how it works. Also try to write down the same program without using goto. So let's summarize what we have learned in this class. When we need to choose one among the number of alternatives, a switch statement is used. A switch keyword is followed by an integer or an expression that evaluates to an integer. The case keyword is followed by an integer or a character constant. The control falls through all the cases unless the break statement is given. The usage of goto keyword should be avoided as it usually violates the normal flow of execution. In the next slide, I have given a few exercise problems for you to solve. You can try them out for yourself. Thank you.